Hello. So I wanted to talk a little about the various different shapes that we have in the saltstone world. I originally started with the circles. Let me show you here. These are one of the original ones that I cut and carved. And I specifically cut them to fit the palm of my hand when I'm working, because this was primarily why I initially used them, because I was really wanting a way to be able to work the trigger points with applying some thermal heat with my work to help my clients deal with the intense pain that sometimes they felt with the trigger point work. And I'm telling you, you apply this thermal heat with your work and it is an absolute game changer for your clients. They will really, really not only appreciate it, but be able to tolerate and even enjoy when you work trigger points. So these are the original circles. However, we do have some more shapes now, and I have to admit, I have been quickly enjoying the teardrop. The teardrop, I don't know if you can see that. The teardrop is obviously bigger, different size than the circle, but it has this really wonderful soft top part. It's not hard, it's not pointy, but it's just a wonderful way when you're working specifically the hips. I find that this is a wonderful one to use in the hip and up around the neck for this area here. It's really just a wonderful, and it fits so it fits differently in my hand than the circle does. I have less ability to work with my fingers when I'm holding the teardrop. So it's a different way of working. If I'm using this point on specifically the hip, it's great to use the teardrop, and you use your body weight, you lean into it, so you let the stone do the work for you. This is all about working smarter, not harder. And when you have those 1 of 7, 8 trigger points in the hips and you want to approach them and work them, grab the teardrop, because it's so easily accessible. You just lean, and again, you're leaning in. I say to my therapist all the time, you don't want to be working with your biceps. You want to be working with your whole body. So when you're approaching the hip, for instance, with those trigger points and you have the teardrop, you're just holding and you're just leaning in. You have the warmth from the stone, but you also have that wonderful surface space, a slight ridged curve, and that perfectly works the trigger points. We have our travel bag here that warms them up, but another one that I'm very quickly enjoying is the oval. And again, this is bigger than the circle, and you have almost twice as much surface space. So this one in particular is great when you're working with two. And again, you apply initially with the lateral arm or the lateral legs, but say for instance working the top part of the body, the lateral arm just for 1 or 2 strokes so that your client's nervous system can feel that warmth on their body, and then you can go up around the neck and shoulders, either side of the spine coming down. It's a wonderful way to warm up those erector spinae before you start working them. With the hips as well, I find that you can work differently by holding it differently because of the different shape, rather than the circle where it's just nestled nicely in the palm of your hand and your fingers are still doing all the work with the trigger point work. Unlike that, with the oval, you're then allowing the oval to do the work for you. So this bottom ridge here or this side ridge, when you're coming down the IT band, is really very helpful. And I find that with the hips, the erectors either side of the spine, it's wonderful to include just a stone that's just a little bit more bigger with a little bit more surface space that gets more warmth on your client's muscles to loosen up for when you then put it down and do your deep work. So these are my fastly becoming favorites. And then there is one more, and this one just arrived last week. This is our large heart, and I asked him to make one again with this slight ridge, and oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Specifically side lying the IT band, if you put it this way and work the IT band along here, these two areas really you kind of have to try it. It's hard to explain, I should say. You just do very, very little pressure coming from you to enable your client to feel that pressure on the IT band, and then you've got the heat as well. And also laminar groove, and really nice curvature here to go down that laminar groove. It's a slightly different angle than your circle, not by much, but just enough, and you have a little more ability to hold it in a different way than the circle. But the laminar groove is great up around the neck too, or along the spine. So you have this groove here that your spine can go, your client's spine sits nicely in there, and then you're able to come down for the erectors on either side of this upside down heart. Is great. We were at the AMTA show last month, and one of the teachers and gentlemen who purchased a travel bag from us, he saw the heart when he came and visited us, and he picked it up, and instantly he said, oh my gosh, this is great for therapists to work their fingers. And I didn't quite know what he was talking about, and he picked it up and he said, look. And he said, it's so nice and warm, and it gives your fingers such a wonderful stretch. And he was right. And when I'm sitting around waiting for a client, it really does do a wonderful job of stretching those fingers in a way that I had never thought of stretching them before. So we all learn from each other as far as these soul stones go, because that was something I hadn't even thought of. And right away he saw it and he was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And he shared that with me. So these have all become my fast favorites. Can you see the lines? I'm not sure if you can see the lines in this stone. These lines are just so beautiful. Each stone is one of a kind. You never quite know what you're going to get. But again, here's the teardrop here, the oval, and the heart. So I wanted to share with you those 3 new shapes that we now have. And of course, the round one is my all-time favorite. It's the one I use every single day, but these 3 are very fast becoming my favorites too.